Hey folks, I've seen some developers in the community struggling to understand Parse Live Queries, and I decided to record this video and show you guys Parse Live Queries in action. So I hope you can master uh, this interesting tool for building real-time applications. Yeah, let's get started. So first of all, I will create here a parse app at back for app. Um, Live query demo. Yeah, so at this moment we are creating the app. Um, and for this example, I'll create a very simple class so we can like add some data and listen to the events. I'll create a class called to do, and I will basically add two different columns. One which is the to do title, and the second one that we will use to store if this to do object is either closed or not. Okay, nice. So now let's add some data so we can play with this data. Create like a first column, learn parse, and yeah, this is done. Uh, Learn live query. This one is not done yet. Okay, pretty good. Another thing that we will need in order to use live query from our app is actually set up our live query. So we need to set up in parse server which of the classes we want to listen the events. Here in back for app we do that through this server URL and live query menu. So first I need to activate and create a back for app subdomain. It automatically generates a name for you. So in my case, that's actually the URL that I will need to connect my app to. So livequerydemo.backforapp.io. And I also need to activate live query and select the class that I want to listen the events. In my case, only the to-do class. Okay, pretty good. So now we can dive into the code. Okay, I will create a very simple Node.js project to demonstrate how live query works. And yeah, so I will need like an index.js in which I will code my program, and I will install Parse.js SDK. Let's open the file we just created. Okay, nice. Okay, so here in the file first I will do like the setup for our project. First of all, I will import the Parse SDK, and because it's a Node.js project, I need to import parse/node. I also need to set my server URL, and the server URL that I will use here is the one that we've created at server settings back for app dashboard. So it's basically live query demo.b4a.io, and I also need to initialize the Parse SDK with my app ID and my JS key. I will find those keys under app settings on my dashboard. So here is my app ID, it's the first parameter, and here is my JavaScript key, it's my second parameter. Okay, I will also need to create a main function. I want it to be async, so it will be easier for me to subscribe to the events. And I will call this function, so our program will execute. Okay, so now we've completed setup, we can start coding. The way the live query works is very easy. So the first thing you need to create a regular query like any other query in Parse. In my case, I will create a query to the to-do class, and I want this query to retrieve only the to-do objects that are not closed. So the that the is closed column is not equal true. Okay, so next step is we need to create a subscription, and it's pretty easy. So the way we do that's basically calling a method in the query class called subscribe. This function will actually return a promise, so we need to await for that promise and await that for result. Now we can use this subscription to listen to the different events that Parse Live Query can fire: open, create, update, enter, leave, delete, and close. The open event fires when the server confirms that we are listening to the query. So that's the way we listen to an event, and in this case I'm listening to the open event. I will log here so we can see the execution uh, of this callback when this event is fired. Okay. We also have the create event is an event that's fired when a new object is created and it fulfills the query. In this case, I will receive this new object as a parameter of my callback function. So I will change the message a little bit, and I will print the to do ID created. Okay, in a very similar way, we have the update event that will fire every time that a object that already fulfills the query is updated. The details here is uh, this event will only be fired if this object was already fulfilling that query before the update operation and also after the update operation. It's a little bit tricky, but we'll be able to understand and explain the other events. So the next one is an event that's called enter. And this event is similar to update, but there is a difference. So this event will only be fired if my object was not a match for the query before, but after an update operation, it became a match. So this is my enter event. And we also have an event called leave that's the opposite. So in this case, I have an object that was a match for the query, and after an update operation, it is not a match anymore. Okay, I know it's a little bit tricky and hard to understand, but when I execute all of this, I'm pretty sure that we'll master all these concepts. We also have a delete event that fires every time that we have an object that's a match for the query and this object get deleted. Last but not least, we have the close event. So this event will be fired if by any reason the Parse.js SDK lose the connection with the server. In this case, we don't have the object. We'll actually copy a message similar to this one. Okay. Okay, cool. Now we have all the events in place, but before showing them in action, I'd like to give some functionality to them. So a very common use case for live query is maintaining a list updated in real time. So let's say that in my case here, I want to maintain a list of not closed to-do objects, always updated in real time. So first thing we will need like a variable to store the current to-dos. I like to store it like a dictionary of objects instead of an array, so we can make sure that we don't have duplicate entries. In the beginning of the execution, we need to retrieve the current objects. Then we will use the live query to keep the list always updated. I used to retrieve this initial list in the open event so we can make sure that at this point in time we are already listening to the other events and we will not miss any information. So the way we do that is basically executing the regular query uh, that we already have. So we'll call the find method, and but we have something to do here. So since we are awaiting this find method, I will have to turn my callback in an async operation, and we also need to transform this array that the find method returns into this dictionary that I love to use. Do's, to do's, to do's, to do. Okay, nice. Now when we open the subscription, we'll have all our to-do lists, all our to-do items in our to-dos live dictionary. In the create event, I will only add the new object to the dictionary, so it's pretty straightforward. To-do.id equals to-do. And I will do similar thing in update, so we can make sure that we have the last to-do item. Same thing for the enter event. In case of leave, I need to actually delete this to do from my list, and same thing for the delete operation. Um, in the case of the closed event, we don't need to do anything. Why? Because if for any reason the parse.js SDK lose the connection with the server, it will try to reconnect again. And once it reconnects, it will fire the open event again, and we will retrieve the most updated list of to-dos. Okay, so finally, I will create a very simple function to print the to-dos, so we can see what's happening after each of the executions. Mm, add a line here, so log, a line at the end. I need to take the keys. And I will call this method after each of the events. Oh, I see a small typo here. Uh, is ID. Wait. Okay, cool. Now we have all the events in place, and we can simulate some scenarios. So I will run our program. In the first moment, we have filed the subscription opened event. We've already retrieved our list of objects. In this case, it's not all objects, but only the object that's not yet closed. In the case, we have just one, Learn Live Query. That's here. Okay. And let's try the other events. So let's say we create a second object. We'll create an object, create a video about live query. The created event was fired, and now we have like our new list with the new item. You can notice here that we don't have the is closed column. I accidentally um, forgot to set this column. Then we can set it right now. I'll set to false, and now we have another event being fired, the updated event, and the value of this column is now retrieved. In this case, it's important to note that this event was only fired because this specific object was already a match for the query. It was already here in our current objects. And even after the update, since I moved from undefined to false and not true, it's still a match. And that's why we have this event, the update event being fired. Now let's simulate the enter event. So in this case, we need an object that is not yet a match for the query, and after the update it will become a match. So okay, we can, for example, use this learn parse thing. If we move it to false, we have this specific scenario. So now we have the enter event and we have the learn parse placed here. In a similar way, if we move this to do item back to true, we will have the left event. Oh, I forgot to add the print to do the left event. Okay, we can simulate that again. I will run the program again. And the subscription is opened. I will turn it false, save, and turn it true again. Okay, now nice. So we have here the left event and the updated list now only with two of our to-dos. Yeah, we can also delete an object. So let's delete this one that we've just created. Delete this row. And after doing that, we will see the delete event and our list is already updated again. Another important thing to note is if we can manipulate any object, create, delete, or update any object that does not match the query, and this object will not fire any of the events. So I will create an object that is closed, and I will type something here. Creating demo app. I can update, create live query demo app, and I can even delete. And we will see that no events were generated. The last event I have is when I deleted the document that was a match for the query. Yeah, now we can also simulate the closed event. I will do that by restarting my server. You can do that in Back for App under Server Settings and Core Settings. And since my app will restart, the client will temporarily lose connection, and it will simulate very well what happens in this case. Okay, I have a typo here because I've written closed, but it's actually close event. Let's run again. Let's wait for the connection to open and let's restart one more time. Yeah, so we see like several closed events. This happened because Parse.js SDK is trying to connect multiple times to the server while it's still restarting. And at the end, we have our opened event with the current list of our objects. Yeah, so it's pretty much like this. It's a very simple approach that you can use to maintain um, a live collection of objects. Hope it have helped you guys to master the concepts of parse live queries. And if you have any question, let me know through any of Parse or Back for It channels. I will be happy to help. Bye bye.